Probably should have done the chocolate thing last. Now I'm gonna have chocolate on my teeth. Hey everybody, welcome to Power Rangers Essentials Episode 3. I'm Steven Zarita, and this week we're covering the episode Teamwork. Right off the bat, Trini and Kimberly are getting signatures for their petition to close the dump site because pollution is bad. And you know what? This is actually one of the examples of the many moral messages of Power Rangers. It's also an early example of Trini being the conscience of the group because she's a big advocate for working together as a team, which, if you can guess by the episode's title, is the theme of the episode. So the dump site they're planning to close isn't any regular dump site. Apparently Rita owns the dump site or something. She's going to use it as part of her plan to destroy the world with pollution. It's not the best plan, but it raises a very interesting question. So Rita's been stuck in a dumpster for 10,000 years. She gets out, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks before this, and she has this dump site that's part of her big master plan. So did she have this dump site only for a couple weeks? Did she buy it from somebody? How does it fit into her plan? It can't have just popped up out of nowhere. People would have noticed that. I don't know. It's a weird line. I'm overanalyzing it way too much because it's a kid's show, but Bulk and Skull make another comedic entrance to bug the girls, and Kimberly does another one of those awkward physical gags where she flips over and dodges Bulk and Skull. You know I'm not a fan of these. So the guys are too busy to help out, and Trini and Kimberly are left to deliver the petition alone. And as they get to the creepy dump site, they are attacked by putties. And you know what? This is actually a pretty cool episode for Trini and Kimberly because they get to kick butt without the rest of the guys. And while the girls are kicking butt, Zack is dancing in the command center because Alpha called him to teach him how to dance. I don't know, maybe Alpha's trying to be more human, understand these hip teenagers, but we have a semi-pointless scene of Zack dancing. I only say semi because while it doesn't contribute to the plot, Zack is actually a pretty cool dancer, so I do enjoy this scene. But Rita sends down a monster, the Minotaur, and it's morphin' time. Power Rangers! Guys take on the Minotaur, but their weapons and attacks are useless against him. Meanwhile, Trini and Kimberly have morphed, and while Kimberly takes on the putties, Trini takes on Goldar solo, which is impressive, especially since she doesn't even have a power weapon yet. Rita takes the initiative to make Minotaur grow, and the Rangers call on their Zords to fight him, and this is one of the reasons I like this episode. They don't go and combine the Megazord and fight him that way. They fight him individually. We actually don't see a lot of solo Zord fights in Power Rangers. The later seasons especially just skip straight to the Megazord. But Mighty Morphin Season 1 actually has a decent amount of solo Zord fights, which I'm a big fan of because the solo Zords are surprisingly articulate. They do, however, combine into Megazord in tank mode, which I'll get to later, but even Megazord in tank mode is no use against the Minotaur. He is just too strong. So Zordon calls them back to the command center and gives them the power weapons. Power weapons are exactly what they sound like. They are powerful weapons. Zack gets an axe, Jason gets a sword, Trini gets daggers, Billy gets a lance, and Kimberly gets a bow and arrow.
That Minotaur's history!
Back into the fight with a flashy intro for the new weapons, and it's time to combine the weapons together. Kind of like you combine your efforts with teamwork. The Power Blaster quickly destroys the Minotaur, and the Rangers have a new weapon. The monster's dead, but wait, there's still one more problem left. The school is a dump, but with the power of teamwork, they can clean up the halls and stay out of trouble.
What happened to the mess?
Mess? What mess?
Then versus now. Back then, dancing Alpha 5 was kind of funny, but 24-year-old Steven thinks it's kind of cheesy, and it doesn't really add much to the end of the episode. Maybe a little bit of a chuckle, but I see it as more cheesy than anything nowadays. Back then and now, it's always cool to see the girls take charge in an episode, and it taught me that girls can kick butt just as well as the guys. Then and now, the power weapons. These are some of my favorite, if not my favorite, power weapons in all of Power Rangers, because they're actually, like the Zords, kind of practical. They are essentially real weapons, just with the color coding and a little bit of decoration with their dinosaur emblem. Some of these later seasons have power weapons that look like toys, and maybe because they're also high def, they just look like plastic too. They don't seem very useful. I don't get how you would wield them in battle, how they would work at all in any practical way, but these, since they're real weapons, make sense, and they're slim and fit like an actual sword. Swords shouldn't be this big. Swords should be a blade and a handle. Zack's power axe is maybe an exception. It kind of doesn't actually look like an axe other than the blade, but that's because it doubles as a super gun of sorts, which he doesn't use in this episode, but he does use in later ones. Finally, back as a kid, I thought the intro for the power weapons was really cool because they, like I said, look so majestic, so awesome, like real weapons. Nowadays, while it's still cool to see their introduction, it kind of makes you wonder why Zordon waited so long to introduce them. He does that a lot. He kind of waits till the Rangers need an item before giving it to them, which sounds wise, but that usually entails waiting for the Rangers to get beat up and then saying, oh, you know what? Maybe you could use this thing. It's gonna fix it's gonna fix in like 2 seconds. Why is this episode important? Well, first off, you have to understand that this comes from the Super Sentai footage from Japan. And in the Super Sentai season Zyuranger, this episode, they did not have the ability to combine into the Megazord yet. That's why we have the solo Zord battle now. The Megazord fight we saw in episode 1 actually happens from later on in the season. They kind of spliced it over there, put it there. So if you're wondering why it doesn't make sense for them to fight solo, that's why. As cool as the solo Zord fight is, it kind of contradicts the idea of teamwork because they do combine the Zord into the Megazord in tank mode, and even when they're all combined, the Minotaur is stronger, but when they combine their weapons later, which is kind of the same thing, the Minotaur is destroyed. Kind of inconsistent, but you can't really expect A+ level writing out of Power Rangers. And of course, this is an essential episode because the power weapons are an essential part of the Rangers' arsenal. All right, what did we learn here? Anybody? Come on. It's teamwork. It was right in the, it's literally teamwork. It's the title of the episode. All right, last week I asked you guys what your favorite power weapon was, and the results were kind of unanimous. AJ Cook says the Dragon Dagger. It was so awesome the bad guys even wanted to steal it. Besides, who doesn't love a sword that sounds like a trumpet but is supposed to be a flute? Dylan Alford, you also agreed. Dragon Dagger is a mean piece. But I'm gonna have to go with either Jango Fett's dual Wester 34 pistols or Kamari Vosa's curved hilt lightsabers. Well, you know what? You kind of thought outside the box there, but you went to Star Wars, which is all right in my book, so good answer. Catherine, you said a potato. The next episode of Power Rangers Essentials is covering episode 4 of Mighty Morphin. It's called A Pressing Engagement, which introduces another minor part of the Rangers' arsenal. And with all these parts of the arsenal we've been getting pretty much every episode, what's your favorite part? Is it the Zords? Is it the Blade Blasters? The Power Weapon? The Power Crystals? Or another arsenal that is yet to be introduced? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll read them next week. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Power Rangers Essentials. I'm Steven Zarita. You can find Hyperdrive pictures all over the internet. Just look below. We'll see you next week. Punch it! Ugh.